colleague heads and other heads of delegation and heads of regional institutions and the public of the Caribbean. First of all, I'd like to adopt unequivocally in every material particular and call as my own the remarks made this morning by our Secretary General and the outgoing chairman. So forgive me if I don't repeat some of what they have said. My own remarks here are thus intended to add value to our proceedings and deliberations. But I repeat, I accept and adopt as my own in every material particular all that Erwin LaRocque and Mia Motley have said this morning. Next year, 2021, the Caribbean community will commemorate the 20th anniversary of the signing and coming into effect of the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas, which, among other things, established the legal and institutional framework for the rollout of the CARICOM Single Market and Economy, CSME. In 2023, our region will celebrate the 50th anniversary of the founding of CARICOM and its promise of immature regionalism at a time when only 4 of its 12 foundation member countries had achieved constitutional independence and in the aftermath of the failed federal venture. Over all these years, successive political leaders and populations have recognized the necessity and desirability of an alive and organic regional integration in which the whole is more than a summation of the individual parts in our quest, individually and collectively, to make much better our lives, our living, our production, and our security. Still, our region's inability to exercise fully the ghost of the failed political federation of 60 years ago, our ongoing tendency to exalt in relation to each other the fig leaf of individual sovereignties, the challenges to deeper integration from our member states' islandness, even for those which are continental geographically, and the multiple contradictions arising from a hegemonic neoliberal global order. All these things have conspired to make our union far from perfect. Still, very much so, our CARICOM has chalked up impressive achievements in its 4 pillars of integration: functional cooperation, coordination of foreign policy, security collaboration, and economic integration, including single market trading arrangements. But the design of CARICOM itself highlights its possibilities and limitations. Explicitly, CARICOM was conceived and fashioned as a community of independent, sovereign states, voluntarily combined to pursue a series of objectives, measures, and tasks. Indeed, not all member countries have signed up to everything on the regional menu. There has evolved a variable geometry of integration, which contains an admirable flexibility, but which at the same time limits optimal cohesive actions. The very design and practical functioning of CARICOM have made it well nigh impossible to solve certain enduring problems touching on concerning regional governance, institutional political representation, and the non-automaticity of financing regional institutions including the CARICOM Secretariat itself. Sovereign voluntarism is thus enthroned, and supranational authoritativeness is absent or made minimalist, save and except for the Caribbean Court of Justice in its original jurisdiction. Further, the member countries in CARICOM remain unequally yoked in practical terms. This condition generates at least two adverse consequences. First, the reality and the perception thereof that CARICOM, particularly in its economic and trade aspects, benefits in too skewed a manner one or two countries at the expense of others. And secondly, larger countries, whether defined by size of territory, economy, or population, feel less constrained to abide by collective decisions. The member countries of the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, OECS, are genuinely aggrieved at this state of affairs. It demands correction through a robust and efficacious application of the treaty provisions regarding less developed countries, economies, and regions, and an explicit carve-out for member countries of the OECS within the CARICOM construct. Yet, the quickening pace of the onrushing challenges of nature and the global political economy have made it imperative that we build CARICOM better and stronger, though recognizing its inbuilt and operational limitations. The inequalities and harsh encumbrances in the global political economy, the existential threat of climate change to our region, and the explosion of pandemics have made it pellucid as never before that our Caribbean community is central to our people's salvation on this, our earthly city. Indeed, in the early days of COVID-19, our colleague, Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley of Trinidad and Tobago, perhaps with only a touch of hyperbole, affirmed that, quote, CARICOM is the antidote to COVID-19, unquote. The heroic contribution of CAFA, IMPACTS, SEDIMA, all CARICOM institutions, and the RSS, a sub-regional security umbrella, is a sufficient testimony in this regard. Accordingly, I reiterate our profound gratitude to the regional public servants at CARICOM, the OECS, and at all allied regional institutions. Over the past 6 months, our Caribbean community was brilliantly led, not just astutely led, brilliantly led by our outgoing chair, the distinguished Prime Minister of Barbados, Mia Mottley. Her energetic and purposeful engagements with the IMF, the World Bank, the WHO, the G20 countries, the United Nations, the European Union, and the African Union, on behalf of CARICOM, was simply outstanding. Her frequent dialogues and consultations within CARICOM and its institutions, made possible through modern telecommunications facilities, have been quite fruitful. Her helpful initiatives to assist in the preservation of democracy in Guyana, within the terms of the CARICOM Charter of Civil Society, will be long remembered, despite unwarranted, vulgar, and opportunistic criticisms of her from assorted, jaundiced sources who ought to know better. I've asked my friend Mia Mottley to continue her leadership work in several of these areas during my chairmanship. We will work closely with one another, with the Secretariat and the Bureau and other colleague heads of state and government over the next 6 months, which portends to be extremely activist and vital for our community and its people, our regional family. Immediately, colleagues, on the agenda continues to be the challenge of COVID-19 and its four interconnected dimensions of health, the economy, society, and security. The coordination of the delivery of a sufficiency of regional air transport in quality, affordability, safety, and sustainability. The socioeconomic recovery of our region. The strengthening of our region's resilience against multiple vulnerabilities. The building of a better, more equal, more inclusive global order in full recognition of a properly articulated small state exceptionalism and the further upliftment of our Caribbean civilization in every material particular within our region and in our interface with others in our hemisphere, the developing world, the major economies, and the global institutions. These large strategic issues and more confront us. So too are those touching and concerning the internal arrangements of our Caribbean community itself. The policy responses are available and have been well researched. We know them. Like the esteemed Issachar, one of the leaders of the historic 12 tribes of Israel, we must know the times and act accordingly. In this regard, I want to say that the challenge which is upon us in respect of regional air transportation is one which is in our hands to solve. As chair of the transportation portfolio in the CARICOM quasi-cabinet, I've already been in touch with several airlines, the principal ones being CAL, Inter-Caribbean, One Caribbean, and SVG Air. And there are others that Prime Minister Motley has mentioned. I believe that we are going to be able to provide in a very short time a sufficiency of regional transport to serve this sub-region, to serve ourselves safely, reliably, sustainably, and reasonably priced. I want to give that assurance to the people of the Caribbean community. Colleagues, we cannot fight the future and its requisites, nor look forward to the past, however nostalgic that may be. So we have to reaffirm that of all time, only the future is ours to desecrate. We must remain calm and patient, knowing always that sun brightens stone. We must not panic or be consumed by excessive fear or hysteria. We ought to stand askance from useless recriminations. We know ourselves as a people and our immense possibilities, despite our limitations. We know that there is much more that we can achieve together without rancor or bitterness, even in the midst of dissonances and contradictions within our regional family. Our people expect us, metaphorically, to make whole sons and whole daughters out of the compromises which history and our extant circumstances have made us. In this understanding, we come home to ourselves and our people for their upliftment. Let us build further upon our solid accomplishments in this, our remarkable region and magnificent Caribbean civilization. This building of our region and our civilization is a great cause, and great causes have never been won by doubtful men and women. I thus accept the chairmanship of CARICOM with humility and an enduring obligation. I thank all of you for your confidence, and I embrace wholeheartedly your continued support. Thank you.